So because most people have limits in the movement called hip extension, which basically just means that my knee goes behind my hip. So when my knee goes behind my hip, that's called hip extension. Lots of people have limits there, so that when the knee goes behind the hip, what ends up happening is it pulls the pelvis forward. These hip flexors are really tight. Pulls the pelvis forward, everything goes forward, the whole system goes out of whack. And because if you do have that tightness, and like probably 80% of people in just our modern culture do, just from sitting so much, because when we sit, the knees are in front of the body like this leg is, and everything there tightens up, shortens up. So what I think is the most important yoga posture for most runners is any kind of lunge, especially runner's lunge, and then a low lunge with the chest lifted and the arms lifted. The way I like to work into that is to have one foot way forward, the other foot way back. Front knee is directly over the front ankle. Tuck the back toes under, lift the hips up. And from here, we can move with the breath a little bit just to warm up. So the inhale drives the hips up a little, the exhale lets the hips sink. Inhaling, the hips go higher, exhaling, the hips sink. You can do that 5 to 10 times and then let the knee rest on the ground. Be sure that you kind of squeeze the glutes, maybe let the tailbone sink. Tuck the tailbone under, shift the hips forward, lift the arms up, lift the chest up, and from here, a few things you want to be on the lookout for are that you're not letting your spine, the lower spine, overarch as your leg goes behind. You want to kind of try to tuck the pelvis under, maybe keep it neutral. But for a lot of us, if you're trying to tilt the pelvis this way, then basically that keeps it in neutral. And you also want to be sure that the hips are not turning, because the tightness of these hip flexor muscles will pull. So we want to create more movement where we can push the leg back, where we can open the stride to the rear. It's a great thing about any lunge position is that it allows you to open your stride to the rear, and that's where you get propulsion. So as we're running faster, we're going to have to make our steps a little longer. If we're opening the stride to the front, we tend to put on the brakes. If we open the stride to the rear, push the leg back farther, we tend to create more propulsion,